Hello there, YouTube, and like whatever the heck is watching this. Today it's a bit of a special day, and if you're wondering why, it's because, well, 2 days ago, I have reached 462 subscribers. That's quite a large number, considering, you know, the kind of content this is. So I decided to celebrate quite a bit of it by doing something a bit special. What's that, you may ask? Well, I'm gonna show you. Well, I will start talking about my video game collection today, and well, first let's start off with the Sega Genesis. There's quite a bit of them in here. If I can get quite a few of them. To start off with, firstly, there's Arcade Classics, which is a Sega published game. It was assembled in Mexico, and it involves Centipede, Missile Command, and Pong. Classic games from Atari. And as you can notice on the cartridge right there, there's this like helpline of sorts, and it's probably like dead. I'd be surprised if you could actually like still ask them about this game. Like, I have to wonder if anyone is like in like 2033 will like ask them about like this sort of. I would be like surprised. Maybe if like a joke because like I mentioned it. And of course, there's well, this one. If you've like followed a bit of my channel, you know this. This is The Duel Test Drive 2 by Accolade, or Ballistic, which is like Accolade's like label for their Sega Genesis games when they were not licensed by Sega. And this is a racing game. It's a 3D driving game of sorts. It's like it tries to be like real 3D apparently, but it's like 2D sprites for like the cars and stuff. I don't know if there are like any parts of this game that are like 3D aside from like maybe like the mountain course. As you can tell, there's like this like little like grids of sorts. Oh no, those aren't grids. Those like just like purple like lines or whatever. I don't really know what these what it's really called other than like zigzags or whatnot. But I like how they look. And there's Formula 1, another one that you probably like saw beforehand. It's a Domark game, and it was developed by Lancor, and as you can tell, it was distributed by Tengen. Tengen was a licensed Sega Genesis publisher, but was not licensed on the NES for quite a while. I mean, they originally were, but well, let's just say that it was kind of a bit of a rough history. And, well, apparently they, out of nowhere, they decided to, like, have this be a thing they would distribute around North America. Domark just released it themselves in Europe, which is where they're from, specifically the UK. And according to this is licensed by the FOCA to Fuji Television Network Inc. and was this related to the 1993 Formula 1 season. So yeah. Then here's Pac-Mania, originally an arcade game, sometime like the late 80s or like possibly the mid 80s. I don't even know. Or like, wait, 1987. That's where the arcade game came out apparently. Yeah, I wasn't really. As you can tell, Pac-Man's like about to like get his hands on a power pellet so we can like eat those ghosts. It's a sort of like it's essentially a pre-rendered game, in like the original arcade version, but in the Genesis version, it's like they're like redrawn to like just regular sprites. but tries to be sort of 3D like the original. As you can tell, like a bit of like the label is sort of like a bit torn off, but you can still tell what it is. Then there's the classic Jeopardy. You've definitely heard of this one if you've like watched a bit of my channel recently. Maybe. I don't know, you've probably not.
What's up, Big Slim?
Do not ask what that was. Do not ask what just happened. Back to Jeopardy. This was like around the time when Alex Trebek was the main host of the series, and as you can tell, this is an obvious game tech game. As you can tell, Game Tech was like the publisher of just about like Family Feud and Wheel of Fortune licensed games for like consoles. Andre Agassi Tennis by Tengen. This is actually a fully published Tengen game, not just one they distributed. And as you can tell, he's like breaking the Tengen barrier. Ooh, that's badass. And just look at Andre. Doesn't he look like the... Doesn't he just look like the kind of dude you can hang out with? And I believe... Wait, no, it's Davis Cup Tennis. Dang it. Ugh. Why do I always think of... Why did at one time I well, anyways, I believe this is a Lorcel game. Lorcel developed this and Tengen posted around here, so... Sorry, that was like some stupid misinformation in the first glance. Then we have the original Streets of Rage. Right here. Classic. You see, you have like Axel beating up this fellow. You have like... I don't even remember her name. Beating up this hunky little fella. And I believe you might... There's this like guy who's like a building like shooting up the place. And as you can see, like the label's a bit ripped, but the cartridge still works. So that's it for this batch, and there's another batch that's coming soon. Next up on this batch is okay, this is like the second batch, and first of this second batch is World Heroes, a rather kind of crappy port of the Neo Geo arcade game, and it's a Sega first party published port. And I believe it was developed by the Midwest studio by like one guy. Apparently it's supposed to be programmed with somebody else, but he was like a con artist, so someone else had to pick up on the job. Then we have Combat Cars by Accolade, this time with a full Sega license. As you can tell, it's a racing slash shooting game, sort of like Rock and Roll Racing, except this is a top-down game. It doesn't include like remixes of like classic rock songs. And the cars here are designed more like 50s like cars, or like 40s and whatever, like 1920s and 1930s even, compared to like what's actually in the game, which looks a bit more futuristic by comparison. Zoop, which disappointingly doesn't really like work all that much anymore because I like dropped it at one point. Not in water, just like on like a floor, like where I bought it. Dumb me. Oh yeah, it's a Viacom new media game. Viacom's short-lived video game label. Man, that was like a weird time. Joe Montana Football, the classic one. Probably don't see the label all that well, because it's like almost crappy VHS quality. But here's Joe Montana, and I got this for like $3. Desert Demolition, a Looney Tunes game, a Sega first-party published game, so quite a good deal. It is definitely, as you can tell, it's one of the later releases because it has like the ESRB rating on it, which says kids to adults. And well, here's the Wile E. Coyote just on his like super fast rollerblades. It's almost uncontrollable like that, but it's fun still. Yeah, it's a really fun game. I like both sides of it. So yeah, you can play as either the Wile E. Coyote or the Roadrunner, and as the Roadrunner, you're like able to like escape the Wile E. Coyote a lot of the times, and if you're playing as the Wile E. Coyote, you just really cannot catch the Roadrunner. There's like this like one like level like 2 where you have to like balance on like a thing, because like it's like an adventure for that, and it's quite hard, but it's not necessarily like abysmal. Sort of like level design, so to speak. It's just like really difficult. Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition, because this was made as part of like a Capcom Sega deal, and this was like I believe this was like released like after like the Super Nintendo versions of like Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, and this was made just to like fill the gap for like good old Sega fans. Here's like Guile beating up M. Bison, of course. I don't know what the heck is up with the back of the... I believe it's supposed to be a jet. That's like the jet behind like the logo. You could probably tell. Actually, I don't think you can. The crappy VHS quality like of my laptop capture, plus like the fact that the label is a bit ripped. Still works though. Viewpoint. Like with World Heroes, this is a arcade. This is like a port of a Neo Geo game, and despite what you may think, the eye is not actually part of the game. Not at all. You just play. It's just like an isometric space shooter with pre-rendered graphics. Probably like the Genesis version is just a lot slower than the Neo Geo version. I haven't really seen the Neo Geo version in like maybe like years. I think like a retrocore video actually like showcased the original Neo Geo version, but I don't really remember all that much about it. RoboCop vs. the Terminator is the final one of this batch, and as you can tell, it's essentially a crossover between RoboCop and the Terminator. In this case, you play as RoboCop and you're fighting against the Terminator like Sky, however. It's a Virgin Games game, as you can tell. Maybe. You probably don't. Again. Why am I even trying like saying like that you can tell? Why? It's a awesome 2D running gun with some like cool music done by Tommy Tallarico. Controversy aside. So that's that batch. On to the next one. So for the third and final batch of Sega Genesis games I have so far, here's Sports Talk Baseball. Another first-party Sega game and one of the earliest games to use the GEMS sound driver. And according to this particular copy, it's from like the Alvin Station 1128 Oak. I'm not really gonna read this. This is a protective label. If tampered with, customer must... I don't know what the heck it's really saying, because like, and all this is like 86 right here. I would probably assume this is like so that it could like be returned to like its original owner, but at this point it's just been sold by like who knows at what time exactly. It's unknown. It's a mystery. Then we have Tecmo Super Bowl, the last Genesis game that is just cartridge only so far, and it's, well, if you saw this on NES, then this is like sort of the same game but upgraded with better graphics. It's a Tecmo game, just like what it says in the title. It has the NFL Players Association license. And it's also a Super Bowl license game, of course. NFL shield design are all said to be a trademark of the National Football League, which of course it is. And here's like the top part of it, top part of the label. And now we've gone into the games that I actually have like cases or boxes for. First, the only game that like comes in a cardboard box, GameTech's Family Feud Genesis adaptation. Here's the front and the back. You really cannot read this. And here's some. Oh, try to get this out best I can. Okay, maybe I could just like. In this case, I have like. I think I have like the full. My God. It's gonna take a while. Oh, they got it out. So here's like the cartridge, and it's like protected for like special cardboard box, which just says Genesis and Sega. Here's that cartridge itself. It just says Family Feud, of course, and that says GameTech right there, like usual. Sega seal of quality, which I haven't pointed out. And like the rest of these, and here's like the manual, because yes, I have the manual for this. Kind of find it interesting how like it's like notes at the end of it. So if you like have like notes, there you go. It's kind of interesting, actually. I also like lists like patents or whatever for some reason. Patents for like not just US but also Europe, Canada, Hong Kong, Germany, Singapore, UK, France, and Japan for some reason. Most of them are probably just like pending aside for the US. So it's like, who knows? There's also like credits in the manual, so like at least like the people who like developed the game can get credit for it. For their like hard work on the Genesis port of Family Feud. Oh boy. Oh man. What a wild thing to have on your resume. I just love collecting those for gags. It's gonna be hard to put it back in. Oh wait, no, it just went back in easily. I'm surprised. Next up, we have Road Rash 3, the first game I got that had like the case for it. As you can tell, it's the third in the Road Rash series at that point, the Genesis Road Rash series. There was a different Road Rash on 3DO and Sega CD. No manual this time, just the cartridge inside. And it's an Electric Arts game, as you can tell. Has that lovely little knob right here, the yellow knob. And there's like these. And as you can tell, has like the classic EA logo back. And it's like, you know, like a cube, like a spear, and like a. I believe it's supposed to be like a maybe. Names of 3D champs like hard to really remember for me. Maybe it was like triangular prism. Oh, oof. That was like a bit awkward. But here it's more represented as like a square, circle, and a triangle, which is how it was like represented like the logo for like most of the Genesis games. And as you can tell, it was developed by Monkey Do Productions for I don't know what reason. Maybe they were developers of the other two Road Rash games, but I'm not sure. Oh yeah, here's the back too. Yeah. Here's NBA Jam Tournament Edition by Acclaim. And Midway, of course. Back. Of course, here's the inside. It has like the manual, such. It also has this. A special little paper that revolves around like a special auto stat feature of sorts, which is supposed to be able to like save features to track each player's record, ranking, winning percentage, and more. So if you like to know how to like save your game or something like that, maybe. Wait a second. It also tells you how to like check or delete your stand-ins if you like that kind of stuff, you know. Awkward. It's gotta be a bit awkward to get there. Here's the manual for NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and at the back is an advertisement for like the Spider-Man Genesis game based off the animated series that was being aired around the same time on Fox Kids. Yeah, I know my cartoons. It's kind of obvious. And of course, like the manual's pictures are like black and white. It's almost like you're looking at the Game Boy. Which, by the way, there was a Game Boy version of NBA Jam Tournament Edition. Right, put it back in. And of course, you can't forget about a cartridge. I can't believe I got to like mention it was like part of an arcade game called NBA Jam, of course. Like the original NBA Jam was also on the Sega Genesis, but I don't have that one. Hey, I've got to put the pamphlet back in with the paper, special paper, special orange paper. Man, that was a mess up for me. And finally, there's X-Men. The first X-Men, not the second one. This one just has the cartridge, so unfortunately I don't have the special poster that apparently came with this game. Here it is. According to the back, that you probably can't see, it says something about like Kroger number 867. So apparently this was purchased at a Kroger some time ago in like the 90s, which really makes you wonder the weird backstory behind like Kroger selling Genesis games, or really video games at all. I don't usually see them selling video games around here, so whatever the heck was going on back in the old days of Kroger, I don't know. Oh wait, I just forgot about this one. Space Area 2. Next up are my two Super Nintendo games so far. Jeopardy, like before, and Bulls vs. Blazers in the NBA playoffs. Really, there's not much to really say about these, so I'll be moving on. Next up, we have like the only like 4 Game Boy games I can find. 2 for the regular Game Boy, Quakes and Pokemon Yellow, and 2 for the Game Boy Advance, Radeon 3D and Rocket Power Beach Bandits. Certainly a better choice than the PS4 Pro. Only like the old school Extreme Act 2000 fans will get that reference. The next batch of video games is my NES collection. We have the classic Super Mario Bros. 2 and Super Mario Bros. 3. We have Section Z by Capcom, as you can tell. Maybe. Probably don't see it. We have NES Play Action Football. You choose realistic offense and tough defensive strategies. And apparently it's a 4-player game, so you need like a tapper of sorts, or to get the full experience. We have John Elway's quarterback. As you can tell, it's a Red West game. We have Air Fortress, a game by HAL Laboratory before they made the Kirby series, starting with Kirby's Dream Land. Konami's Double Dribble. It has a interesting Mario Rabbit sticker. I like the back of the cartridge. Then there's Jalagos Bases Loaded. And wait, actually, there's one. RBI Baseball by Tengen. Then there's 2 new editions. Firstly, there's Super Sprint, which I have showcased in an earlier video, if you've seen that one. And there's Sunsoft's classic Blastomaster, which had a sequel on the Sega Genesis, which, well, let's just say it sucked. So there's that. And there are those NES games. Oh, by the way, I forgot. They had like their own sort of Tengen seal of approval. Oh, what an absolute mind frickin' jeez Louise. Oh, what a way to really kick Nintendo in the butt. Then here are my PS1 games. First we have Spin Jam. This is a Empire Interactive game, and it's like a puzzle game where you shoot a bunch of balls, sort of puzzle bubble style, but with a circular path maybe. I haven't really played it too much. Moto Racer World Tour by Infogrames. I have not played this, and I might get to playing this someday, but I'm not too sure. Supercross Circuit by 989 Studios under the 989 Sports label. So this is a 1999 game, which is kind of obvious considering the fact that it has the more spray-like E for Everyone label compared to these ones, which use the more black E for Everyone label. Next up, there's Final Fantasy 9. which was released in 2000. It's the greatest hits version. And holy crap, is this an expansive one? Just look at it. Just look how expensive it is. I don't think I've ever really get around to playing that one. Next up is ATV Quad Power Racing by Acclaim, like NBA Jam Tournament Edition, except under the Acclaim Sports label. This was around a time like Acclaim wasn't really doing as well as they used to back in the 90s, and eventually they would go defunct around 2004. Then we have ATV Mania by Gotham Games, which was a subsidiary of Take-Two Interactive, for a label for their budget games. Then we have Ford Truck Mania, another Gotham Games classic. I'm not opening most of these up because it's I'm feared that this would just fall out. And then we have the new addition to the list, Asteroids by Activision. The biggest arcade hit in history hits again in earth-shattering 3D, and as you can tell, it is indeed 3D graphics. Better looking than Bubsy 3D. And finally, we have some PS2 games. We have Namco Museum by Namco, of course, a compilation of classic arcade games from them, as well as the arrangement versions of some. Namco Museum 50th Anniversary, which doesn't involve any arrangement versions, but instead has some classic 80s songs in them for some reason. I mean, I guess they probably thought it fit the theme, but I don't know, just it struck me as what? Why? Yeah, because I grew up with this one right here. This is the one I grew up with. So hearing the licensed music in this just felt off. This right here is a new copy. I lost the original some time ago. Here's Flat Out 2. And then here's Sonic Riders. And then we have this huge batch of other PS2 games. Okay, not really huge, but there's quite a bit of them in here. First, there's Red Dead Revolver by Rockstar. There's Gun by Neversoft. I have no memories of this game. Here's NCAA Football 2005. Classic game. That is, if you liked EA Sports so that much, in which case you probably had a good time. There's Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. I have no memories of this, nor of any of the movies. Then here's The Godfather by Electronic Arts. when you had like the new logo. Then we have Cars Racerama. This one I had back in my childhood days. And the same can be said for Pac-Man World 2. And of course, like Namco Museum, these are not the original copies that I had back in the day. These are wholly new. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. My dad played this a lot back then. Armored Core 9 Breaker, which is just the case. No game, unfortunately. Which is especially unfortunate since these games are sadly rare. And especially since these were my these Armored Core games were part of my childhood. Here's Armored Core 2. Again, part of my childhood, not the original copy, I think. Here's Armored Core 2, Another Age, which is kind of funny to say, another age tick. Then there's Armored Core Silent Line, the counterpart game to Armored Core 3, which I don't have. Then we have Sprint Cars, Road to Knoxville. I legit bought this just for the name. Just for the subtitle. I thought it was hilarious. Then we have Sprint Cars 2 Showdown at Eldora. Because, you know, I had the first one, so the second one was a game I was bound to get. Here's a Hitman. Or at least Hitman Contracts. Sorry. It's an Eidos game. Hot Shots Golf 3. Dragon Ball Z Budokai, which is one I had back in my childhood days. Even though I never watched the anime. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2. Never had this back in my childhood days. Final Fantasy 11 Online, which isn't online anymore, and I never had this back in my childhood. Also, it says not for resale, which probably implies this is like a pack-in game. Then we have the first Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, which is a greatest hits. Interesting. Oh, here's another one. The original Cars PS2 game, but unfortunately I think the disc is rather scratched. up quite a bit. And here are the new additions. Firstly, Hot Shots Golf 4! And Wipeout Fusion. I don't have any of the PS1 Wipeout games, so this is like probably gonna be my first time actually playing one of these, if I ever get around to doing it. So there you have it. That's my video game collection so far. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Thanks for 462 subscribers. And I'll see you next time. Bye. Wait, it's the end of the video already? No! Oh yeah, that too.